Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Last Movie Outpost for all of your movie news, reviews, and everything all about film. Welcome to the Outpost Frequencies. I'm back this week. Last week I had a work due, which was...
Is that what the kids are calling it?
It's the equivalent of what my hell would be. But it was, basically there was free food. So that's my Achilles heel. If there's free food, I'm going to go. Hello, Yoda. How are you this week, my friend?
Wonderful. I like I said, I went and saw Superman, which we'll talk about later.
I've heard about this film. It's the new film out, isn't it? Starring a Superman, a super person.
Yeah, I don't know. There hasn't been a lot of hype on it, so I'm surprised that it's doing so well.
But yeah, you went to see that. I'm waiting for streaming. We will get into this, but yeah. So, what did you make of it? In a very summed up sentence before we get to the main article.
I said it's a super mess, but a sincere one.
Interesting. Like I say, I'm still going to wait. I've had a couple of friends who are saying, "Are you going to come and see it?" And I'm really sort of like, no, I'll wait for a little while. But let's crack on with the live stream. So we've got a few bits and pieces to talk about this week. The first one is conflict brewing over cinema pre-show length. Now, I am one of those people that does not like the pre-show before the movie. I don't like advertising at all, and I will avoid it.
Define the advertising. Are you including trailers in that?
This is true. So, particularly adverts. When adverts come on my TV, I always mute them because I have no interest in them. I'll come back to that later. But no, trailers, I don't mind, because obviously a trailer is a spoiler. You know, you set up a film and you think, oh, yes, I want to see that. I don't want to buy the new Lexus because it's kind of something it's something personally I will never do. I'm not really interested in how cold Pepsi Cola is. Other Cokes are available and whatnot. And so all these adverts they're just wasted on me. I don't like them. So I know the last time I went to the cinema, I saw F1 a couple of weeks ago. And I knew that the film started at like 2 p.m. because I can't go to the cinema late because I'll fall asleep these days. Oh, lovely, Superman. 5 days ago.
Yeah. Toss some popcorn in your mouth.
But yeah, I knew that I could actually get there about 2:20 because I booked my tickets. And so I knew exactly where I was sitting. But then also I knew I was going to miss a good 20 minutes worth of adverts, which are going to be of no interest to me whatsoever. Back in my day, I hate saying that, but back in my day, you had 10 minutes worth of adverts for local restaurants. It's just a stone's throw away from this auditorium, the old Pearl and Dean. And then there was about 5 minutes, 10 minutes of trailers, and then the movie started. That was it. Now what you get is about 20 minutes of adverts, but then the trailers are mixed in with the adverts. So you don't get to the end of the trailers and think, oh, great, the film's going to start. There's then another advert for women's pads if you want to play tennis, but have the occasional leak, and it's just kind of...
Oh, I got to write that down.
I said women's pads, come on, man. So Dark wrote up quite a good article about the whole thing, and some of the feedback was very interesting because, like I say, a lot of people say the same thing. When you went to see Superman, did you have a lot of trailers and stuff there?
Yeah. It's not just the trailers, which there are a lot of them. Although I don't know if it's as many or any more than it used to be, but it's getting to the trailers. You got all this other bullshit ahead of it. Oddly, it's funny because I noticed that, when you come into the place, if it's early enough, there's nothing on the screen. Nothing.
Oh, really? See, funny enough, we do. My local cinema has adverts for the cinema chain, has adverts for...
They have some of that. They start that early enough, but there is a period where there's nothing going on. And I remember back in the day, as you say, that they used to, like, as soon as the movie went off and before the trailers came on, they just had slideshow. That's all they did, slideshow the entire time. And then the trailers would start when the movie was supposed to start, and then you move on. And I feel like that seemed like a reasonable way to do it. If you got there early, you would see these adverts. If you got there on time, you'd see the trailers, and everybody was happy. And Now, I mean, obviously slides are a thing of the past and all that. I'm sure they could put a PowerPoint up there if they wanted, but now it's all this welcome to movie show before the movie. And then you do the trailers. Then you do another advert, because now they got an advert. They're using the don't turn on your phone, don't text, all that. And they brand that.
Yeah, somehow.
And then they got Nicole Kidman comes on to advertise the theater that you're already in. Like, fuck off, Nicole Kidman. I'm already here. You don't need to keep upselling me. What do you want me to do?
Welcome to AMC Cinemas. Yeah, I know. I just walked in the lobby. It said it there.
I'm here. What do you want? I'm in the goddamn seat. And so, and then the trailers, or then the movie finally starts.
By the way you're talking, it's like you get the chairs in and then they strap you in and then do like a, what's his name? Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork, yeah.
And I mean, I miss as well, out of all that, the days of queuing up to go to the cinema as well. I mean, I remember the Phantom Menace, I've got a photo of it somewhere, but I mean, me and my mate queued up all day so we can see it sort of later in the evening. I think it was like a midnight show and we got there at like 10 in the morning or something stupid. But then you had a whole line of people going around the block and you would talk to these people and you would get chatting and, people brought lightsabers and you had fights and, all that. Now it's just, there's your movie ticket, see, you've booked it all up, you don't have to queue, just walk in and go straight in. It's not the same.
Well, to be fair, is there such a thing as a blockbuster anymore? And what I mean by that is they called it a blockbuster because the line went around the block. Yeah. Right? When's the last time you've seen a line for the movies?
Oh, like I say, never. Never.
So that part of it, I mean, with all the content, the streaming and things ending up on, I don't see that happening ever again. Superman made $123 million domestic. It looks like 200 million worldwide, which
makes me laugh. That whole thing of, it's made so-and-so, because I'm looking at it and going, that means nothing to me.
Well, it's a respectable amount.
We sold over 400,000 Coca-Colas at so-and-so.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying it's a respectable.
Oh, yeah, obviously. But it's just, again, it's not, to me, hype of the movie was having a packed out theatre with people cheering and jeering and everything else. And then when the movie starts, everybody goes silent. And then, there's clapping at the end, apart from the occasional bit where you might clap in the middle and stuff. But again, you just don't seem to see that.
Well, my point is, 20 years ago, the second Pirates movie broke the record at 135 million domestic. And that's, with inflation and everything else, less theaters, everybody went and saw it. Now you make 125 million, given how many more, I mean, there were empty seats. I mean, it was reasonably full, but there were empty seats in our place. And I'm like going, so the blockbuster thing, I think, is gone, is my point. As far as the ads and everything ahead of the movie, I mean, to a certain extent, it's like, well, if you're going to see a movie at 7 o'clock and it's not going to start till 7:30, and they have assigned seating because they didn't used to have that back in the day. Now it's like, okay, so I just readjust. That's fine. I'll get there at 7:15. I'll be there in time for the trailers. And I don't have to watch that stuff.
You readjust and conform to their standards.
Well,
fight the power, man. Fight the
power. What's my alternative? I come in there early and force fed their M&M's commercials. Fuck that.
Oh, yeah. I do like, just going into the comments from the last movie outpost, I do like the comments on this because Claude Dempsey said, all they have to do is state the movie start time and the opening time and then list them separately. I sat down to watch 28 Years at 1 p.m. and 28 years later the film started.
Well, the truth is they will never do that. They want you to be there. They're going to put the 2 p.m. start time. If they
realise if advertisers realised that they were doing that, then advertisers wouldn't pay to advertise.
Right, because they know everybody would come in late. So
it's a weird irony, though, because I always think to myself, if somebody has paid to do advertising, that just means they're more expensive. And in this day and age, when everybody's worried about the cost of living and everything else, we've got over here. This is a can of Pringles. I moaned about this on Twitter the other day. Oh, a can of Pringles. I still remember when a can of Pringles was £1. Happy days, £1, love it. I saw some the other day. They were like £3.25 for a can. And I keep thinking, yes, because they spend money on advertising, which costs them millions and millions of pounds. And so then they have to be more expensive. And all these brand names, I think to myself, if you've advertised, you're going to be more expensive. So I'm not going to buy your product. I'm going to go for a cheaper one.
Well, that's part of it. Obviously, the money and the inflation. I don't want to get into an economics discussion here, but the COVID printing of money and all the inflation that we had is a big part of that. It wasn't like Pringles wasn't advertising back in the 80s or 90s, I saw the commercials.
This is true, actually, yeah. Do you know what? No, I'm quartering like that, but yeah, you are absolutely right, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think the funny thing is that the advertising would probably be more successful if theaters never went to assigned seats. Because if I could buy my ticket ahead of time and I have an assigned seat, then it really doesn't matter when I get there. So they kind of F themselves over because people know they got their seat. Whereas, back, when you and I, it was like fight for the right seat. Yeah, you want to get in. Otherwise, you were in the front row doing that shit.
What's going on your side of the screen? I think they're fighting. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry about that anymore if you plan ahead. So it's like the advertising is probably less effective than it was when everybody free for all. Get jump in, get your seat, have a Mad Max style fight over the middle seat.
I used to, funny story about this. I used to do mystery shopping at the cinema. So weirdly, I had to go into the cinema and write down all the adverts and trailers that were being shown before a film to make sure that the cinema was advertising them.
Sure.
And I used to, on several occasions, I used to know the managers, obviously, at my local. And say, for example, we had like a 15-screen complex. And when this film was shown on the last one, I'd do that one last and stay and watch the film for free. But what was always funny was it was back in the days when people used to queue up. And I can't remember which films it was. It happened on a couple of them, but I'd done all the trailers for the first couple, and then the last one, I'd get there. I'd get there early and sort of say, "All right, mate, all right, yeah, I'm just going to go in to get ready for the trailers." Yeah, no worries. So all these people were queuing up, hundreds of people, and I go into a completely empty cinema and sort of like, okay, this is the best seat, yes, before everybody else got let in. Yeah, that was good fun.
Yeah, I remember that. That was definitely. A free-for-all, it was a gladiator style thing.
13 and 14J are where you get the best sound. You got to get in there.
Well, if you see the right movie, and you're fighting for the seat, like, you see a Star Trek and then guys come in with the Vulcan thing, da, 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 da. It's a pre-show, it's great. Much better than, watching M&M commercials. Half the time I can't tell what the commercial is for. It's like, is it M&M's or is it a phone? Is it a Nokia? Is it Apple? Google? What the hell's going on here?
I don't want to call out any professionalism, as we know we both are, but I was leaving a blank pause so that I can edit this up later, and I'd switched to Red Sonja. I'm just saying.
What do you care? I'm the one cutting it up this week.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Actually, then I'm going to fiddle around with all of them. I'm so sorry. Right, okay. So, another big news this week was Red Sonja, the reboot, has got a full trailer out. Now, I was debating whether we could actually put this on or not. There's the original, Bridget Nielsen. But I was wondering whether we could actually put this on or not. But I don't know how much trouble we'll get into, so I'll probably leave it.
You could probably mute it. But
there we go.
Yeah.
So, yes, Red Sonja is one of those classic. I called it a boob and sword movie, because it had boobs and swords in. It was big in the 80s. For reference, go and see any Canon film set in medieval times. But that worked back then because that's kind of what guys wanted. We wanted, people getting cut off, had their heads off by swords and boobs. You put that in a film, every man's happy. What do you make of this new reboot?
Well, I'm not. Like, I listen to Midnight's Edge. I know they're big Conan Red Sonja stands. And they love so they have a lot of, like me with Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
And so they're very concerned because the trailer was very generic. And I admit, I watched the trailer and it was, a flat line for me. I'm like, oh, this looks like generic fantasy movie with a Red Sonja.
In that same respect, don't get me wrong, I love canon, but in that same respect of kind of canon, we just, churn them out.
Yeah. And I don't know, like their point was that Dread, the one with Carl Urban, had a really crap trailer and turned out to be an awesome movie. So they're not passing judgment on it based on that. I think they're kind of they have the bias of, I really want this to be good because we love, that sword and sorcery type stuff. I don't know. I mean, I was kind of the same way. I was like, well, she wears the bikini, but they had to make a note of it. Like, how am I supposed to wear this? That bullshit. There, right there. And it's like, nobody cares that it doesn't, practically it's not a good thing to wear. That's not the point. The point is, the guy wears just, nobody complains that Conan doesn't wear any armor. It's just basically his bare chest.
Any MMO or computer game which has featured this kind of character, like Skyrim or anything like that, if you play as a female, you will always dress her up like that.
Yeah, because guys like to look at hot women.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
I did read a good one the other day, just to interject, where it said, you play as a female character because you like looking at a woman's backside for 30 hours. I like playing the female character because I like having full control over a woman. We are not the same.
Not all that different either.
When you think about it. Yeah, I mean, the most popular skins of all these kind of games and stuff are always one with the most skin on the show. But sorry, carry on. Carry on your point. I apologize.
Well, I guess in general, I think Midnight's Edge was being trying to be forgiving and hopeful. And I know they came out with that Conan remake, 4, 5, 6 years ago, whatever it was, and it was garbage.
Yeah, I've seen it, but I couldn't tell you anything about it.
And I don't see this being any better. I don't know. It wasn't like the original Red Sonja movie is like sacrosanct. I mean, that one with Brigitte Nielsen, it was pretty cheesy and awful, and I enjoy it mostly from a nostalgia standpoint, but I know it's not great. So
it's one of those films you watch now, kind of like as a drinking game,
Yeah.
Every time somebody gets stabbed, have a swig, or you see a boobs, have a swig, type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun, but it was, it was nothing. I think that not taking it seriously in some ways benefited it. This one's going to take itself very seriously, I can tell. And the question is whether taking it seriously is, well, great, you have a decent story or not. Yeah, I guess if they follow a comics, the original comics or the source material and tell one of the best stories, maybe it'll be fine. I don't know. I'm kind of looking at it going, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, this is the biggest news we've had this week. But it is kind of weird that how some films, if they lent into the camp or the nostalgia of it and everything else, might actually end up being good. I watched one. It was an indie movie. You will laugh at the title of this, called Spiders on a Plane. Don't know where they came up with that idea from. It was a part British movie, actually, because there was a lot of British actors, but it was an indie movie. But it's called Spiders on a Plane, okay? It's ludicrous, but they took it too seriously. And I kept thinking, man, if they just leaned into the camp with this, like they did with Snakes on a Plane, because, again, everybody on Snakes on a Plane knew this was a ridiculous movie. And so they had fun with it. And you like Snakes on a Plane because it's stupid and nobody's taking it. But this Spiders on a Plane, they took themselves far too seriously, and it really kind of ruined the whole thing. And I just kept thinking, man, if you guys have just leaned into the camp and just leaned into the stupidity of this, you'd have had a decent movie at the end of it. It's so strange.
Yeah, and I don't know which way you go with Red Sonja. I don't have that much history with the character. I know she was in the Marvel comics. I know she was originally Pulp, along with whoever wrote Conan, I believe. And
it wasn't. I was going to say,
that's all I know.
Arnie was in Red Sonja, but he didn't play Conan, did he?
No, it was a rights thing.
Yeah. You don't recognize that character at all, do you?
Is that the chick from Last of Us?
There's a TV series over here called EastEnders, and it's basically about depressed people living depressed lives, and it's been going for like 30, 40 odd years now. She was a character in there, very famous character, Natalie. I can't think of the actress name now. Natalie, but she played a character called Sonia. I did think to myself when Star put it in, it was kind of, there's only the British readers are going to get that, but
yeah. I was looking at it going, oh yeah, I guess that's a
British thing.
Yeah.
It's
some
not
British.
Monty Python. I don't get it.
No, yeah, you guys peaked with Monty Python. It's been all downhill from there.
Let's move on.
You certainly fucked Doctor Who pretty good.
Don't even. I've got a lad who I used to work with, Theo T-Dog. I think listens to this. Hey T, if you're listening. He hates Doctor Who now. He's been a lifelong fan. He's got learning disabilities and Downs, and he hates Doctor Who now. And you think to yourself, how do you make something so bad that people like that can't even enjoy it? It's unbelievable.
No, I agree. I mean, it's like Star Wars, right?
Yeah. I mean, just it's unbelievable. Let's not get on that bandwagon. Right, Ballerina. So, Ballerina is from the John Wick world. Did they call it that? I think I can't remember I have got the official title.
From the world of John Wick.
John Wick. Thank you very much. I was kind of half looking forward to this. Anna de Armas is very easy on the eye, so I was thinking, that would help me how we get through this movie. It was a decent action film, but I just found everything went on far too long. It got to the point where it was getting ridiculous that I'm not spoiling too much by saying at the end of the movie, the third act, she is tracked down this guy, blah, blah, blah. He lives in a village where everybody is an assassin. I actually made a joke about the whole thing. Where are we? I'm not spoiling much, but at the end of the movie, Eve, her character, tracks down the Chancellor, who she's after, who lives in a town in the Swiss mountains. The town is populated by trained killers, assassins, and more henchmen than all the Bond movies can find. In fact, there are families that live there. The mum and dad are killers, the kid and the kids, and I'm pretty sure they probably trained their pets to be assassins as well. This would be genius, as nobody expected the hamster did it. But the whole thing at the end of it was just getting utterly ludicrous from the fact that, yes, you take on a few bad guys and stuff. Bond's been doing it for many, many years and so forth. This was like, oh, seriously. And, she got into another fight and I was going on for a bit. Oh, no, she's been. And then somebody, and it just started becoming tiresome in the end. And I really felt for everybody because Anna de Armas puts herself through a lot. In the role, you can tell she's doing everything herself, but I just kept thinking, what a waste of time, though. Because I mean, in the original John Wick, it was new and fresh-ish, but it was kind of like one to the head, two to the chest, and he's down. Whereas in this, it's kind of okay, you're going to get one to the leg, but then you're still going to be able to fight. And then I'm going to pull out a knife and then I'm going to throw a hand grenade at you and you're going to. And it's just, it really got to the point where I was just kind of, yeah, we get it. And it really dragged on. And it was a shame because, again, solid action movie. The story was predictable, yeah, good, but overall just boring.
Well, that was my complaint with the last couple of John Wicks, that they got, I mean, I think that John Wick 4 was like it was like 3 hours.
It was so stupid, yeah.
Yeah, it was ridiculously long. And I'm going, I get it. And I generally enjoy them, but they are exhausting. The first one was like a perfect movie.
Yeah. It came along and surprised everybody, and it was like, well, yeah, this is great.
I mean, it was so well. It was, I mean, it was cheap, but I was like, okay, you got a guy whose wife has died. He's clearly in mourning. She leaves him a puppy, and somebody kills the puppy. And at that moment, the entire audience is, I don't care if it's a busload full of nuns. You wipe them all the fuck out.
Yeah.
So they killed the puppy. Whoever you got to kill, you're fine with it. It's great.
It's funny because I did some research on that, and I found that people, it was something like sort of 60% of men were going, yeah, everybody who deserved to die who killed the puppy. Women, 95%, yes, kill them all, kill everybody. Yeah.
You're like, oh man, it's like the minute that dog died, and you hear that little yelp or whatever it was, and you go, man, this guy is not making it out of this movie. He's not making it out of his next. That actor's not making it out of his next roles.
The fourth John movie, funny enough, which I watched the other day because of Scott Aiken, because I saw another film with him in it, but it was 2 hours 50, and I remember particularly in the comments, people were saying about how long these movies were going on, particularly that stairwell fight sequence. And with that stairwell fight sequence, I got into an argument with somebody online, stupidly, because we all know that's not the thing to do. And he said, "Oh, it was only 3 minutes long." And I came back to him and said, no, I've just checked. It's actually 9 minutes and 24 seconds. It's 10 minutes of just up and down the stairs. And the only good bit was the dog. Where it's just, balls.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the amount of, because I think it was a single camera shot or pretty close to it. Maybe not. I don't remember, but it was.
The other shot was as they went around, and he had that shotgun, which was like bursting flames out. That was one shot. But yeah, the rest, that stair sequence was just ludicrous.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that's the problem. They get exhausting, and I don't know. I think they're going to try to milk the whole John Wick as much as they can, and I just missed the point where we had, maybe a trilogy, and then you were out. I think Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis, I'm stealing this, but they can never die. Because otherwise we're getting so much Back to the Future verse shit going to happen.
No, you're right. It's funny because, to me, a trilogy is kind of perfection. And then as soon as they do a fourth, that's when it becomes a franchise. And to me, that's kind of when it loses it. You look at The Matrix, and you look at Die Hard, and you look at a few other. I'm just trying to think of some others, but you get to that fourth one, and it just kind of loses it. Even Karate Kid. I know you like Karate. I can't remember on your review with Karate Kid. You said, did you like it or not? It was mid.
It was mid. It was very mid. It's not one. Daniel's in it for reasons.
Because Cobra Kai is popular. Look at the end credits. Just before the end credits, getting the bang out together.
Yeah, it could have been. I don't know. Again, it's there. It was perfectly fine.
Yeah,
it wasn't like terrible. There was nothing compelling about it. It's kind of like How to Train Your Dragon that they remade. I'm like, they made it pretty much spot on with the original. So then I'm left asking, why did I just watch the original?
The only complaints I have about the Karate Kid, and then the new one, the 2010 was it, with Jackie Chan, and then this new one, is the crane kick from the original. Everybody tried the crane kick because you could do that. In the remake with Jackie Chan and what's his name, Will Smith's kid, it was a backflip, right? Not everybody can do a backflip. And the same within this one, it was you can win if you can do a double backflip, back somersault while sliding.
Slide under a turnstile, yeah.
No, just give us the crane. I just want the crane kick. I can do that.
It was a simpler time.
But yeah, Ballerina was one of those movies that was just, there was so much potential with it, but I just feel that it wasn't a waste. It was good. But it starts to get too boring, and it starts to drag out. And like with most movies the other day, somebody on Twitter the other day posted, which movie would benefit with an extra 15 minutes of footage? And I was thinking, I don't know, but I can give you 100 films that would benefit from 15 minutes less runtime, with these things, that they could cut out quite a lot of stuff. But again, with that John Wick, I'm just looking up John Wick. So like I say, John Wick 4 was 3 hours. Let's see how long the other ones were. To see how long we've been going with those. So we'll go Parabellum, number 3, was 2:10, so better. Still too long, I think, but better. And then number 2 was 2 hours. And then the original John Wick was 140. So yeah, they've been getting longer and longer as they've gone on. But that original 1 hour 40, that's 100 minutes, which to me is a perfect amount of time for a film.
Yeah, especially one that has that much going on. When you go on too long, that's what happens. I just get exhausted.
Yeah. But the problem is people will sit down and watch them and pay to see them, and as long as people carry on doing that, they're gonna carry on with it. So
franchise has been going on for 11 years. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and then you look at things like Friday the 13th. I think they've had like 13 movies now, 14.
Yeah, I'm milking these things is not new. Look at the Police Academy franchise. I mean. For God's sake, I think they went to Moscow and they were just ready to go to space was probably the next one.
I think one of my favorite things about that was it said it was like Police Academy 6. This is the movie that even Steven Guttenberg didn't return to.
he tapped out at 5, I think. Last one he did was 4.
Yeah, it was crazy. Okay, let's move on. Superman hype. Unless you've been living on a small rock in a cave in the middle of nowhere with them, the only friend that you've got is a goat named Colin, you would know that Superman.
Oh, you know Colin.
Yeah, Colin. No, I'm not dissing Colin. Colin's great. Don't have to go with Colin. But yeah, Superman's come out. I mean, we have jumped on the bandwagon as much as everybody else. We had an outposter review, then we had the official review from Oxino. You've done a review. I will wait till streaming because I'm just not bothered. But yes, Superman has come out. We'll talk about your review in a bit. But what has got me irked about this whole Superman thing is just the amount of advertising and social media presence that's gone on. Particularly, again, it's not like I have a thing about it, but something that really annoys me is when they say, this new movie has been given 5 stars by The Guardian, by so-and-so and so-and-so. And I'm thinking, I don't care what those people think. Particularly, for example, The Guardian is done by a guy over here in the UK called Mark Commode, who is a complete and utter pretentious asshat of a man. I could not care less what his opinion is of anything at all. And so when they say Mark Commode gave it 5 stars, I think, I don't care in any way, shape or form. And so the whole hype around this thing has been, a juggernaut. It's sort of James Gunn's kind of MO with it. Just to put this in perspective, I managed to watch, because it's on streaming now, the new Ron Howard movie called Eden with Anna de Armas and Sydney Sweeney and Daniel Brott and Jude Law. I knew nothing about that. I think somebody mentioned it in the comments a little while ago, but I knew absolutely nothing about this film, whatever.
I've never heard of it.
I saw it was Ron Howard, and I thought, right, Ron Howard, I'll give it a chance. Absolutely loved it, because I went in completely fresh, not knowing anything about it, and it was just great. Whereas with Superman, I'm kind of in my head going, everybody loves this, so I'm going to hate it, just be different. And it's kind of half the problem. I mean, like I say, we'll talk about the review in a bit, but what do you make of hype these days?
Well, I'm going to push back a little. I understand what you're saying. Like, the hype is annoying. I'm just saying I don't think it's new. I remember when Batman '89 came out, you couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting a Batman billboard, or there was the Cups. When Jurassic Park came out, everything was dino everything. I mean, that was everywhere before and after the movie. So I don't. Phantom Menace, my God. The hype when that came out. So
I do specifically remember with the Phantom Menace, because they were trying to tie it in with everything, and it's like, do you want to smell like Obi-Wan? Then use new Dove soap.
Yeah.
Anything they could tie in somehow.
Yeah. Twist, lay a shampoo, twist off her head, and pour soap out of her neck.
No,
feel like a princess.
Princess Leia, headphones now shaped in bun formation.
But my point is like I don't think this is new. So my question to you is: do you think that you and I, because I feel it too. I'm not disagreeing with you that it does feel oppressive at some point. Do you think it's just you and I are just old farts that we're just over all that? We've just seen too much. I honestly sometimes wonder that with even myself, you know.
I mean, with it, yes, we are old farts. I know I am. My wife constantly reminds me what an old miserable git I turned into. But also, conversely, I think we are then also oversaturated with everything. Now, it was different, obviously, like I say, back in '89, you had, your TV. Back in the UK, we had 4, maybe 5 channels. You would have newspapers and that was kind of magazines and stuff, and that was kind of it. Whereas, obviously, everybody's using social media these days. And again, I have my Twitter account, which I kind of use sparingly, but I'm on there. But of course, when you're on Twitter, then it's just Superman. And it's kind of,
but I mean, if all you have is the channels and all you have is a couple of magazines and newspapers and it's everywhere on that, the saturation level is about the same. They just don't have as much stuff to saturate with. That's not really a problem with the advertising. That's more of a problem with we have too much shit to keep our attention these days. It's a bigger problem, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Again, when you had 4 channels, Christmas specials back in the day, there were people like, again, I know you're not heard them, but like Morecambe and Wise, they would do a Christmas special and get like 20 million viewers.
Yeah.
That was kind of almost like, a quarter of the population of the UK were watching. But now, like you say, it's completely different that they have to sort of not oversaturate, but they have to sort of get their message out there that this is what's going on and this is what we're doing. And even though we've made a film and 16 other people have done exactly the same thing, ours is better. And so, yeah, it doesn't get out of control. It's just particularly with this movie, as I said, Eden knew nothing about it. Nothing at all about it. The only thing I knew about it is, this is really sad, and you'll read it in the review when it goes up tomorrow, but I'd heard Anna de Armas and Sydney Sweeney were in it, and there was nudity. So
I was going to ask.
I was immediately drawn to the film. I don't know why.
It's a mystery.
But with it, again, there's been sort of no advertising budget as such. Again, it's not been spread over all social media and everything else, whereas everybody is just on that Superman bandwagon. I mean, there was obviously a lot riding on it because James Gunn's, I don't want to say his career was riding on it, but it was a pretty big deal. I mean, if this movie had absolutely tanked, DC would have been sort of like, James, by the way, mate, I know we hired you for 5 years, but we put in a get-out clause. There was a lot riding on it, and so obviously everybody's going to have some speculation and some insight about it. About has James Gunn saved DC? So and so and so and so. Funny enough, I just went on Facebook. I just lost it. I hate the way Facebook refreshes when you go back to it. But basically, I just saw a picture of Superman holding up the WB logo.
Yeah.
And he kind of, at the end of the day, he has kind of saved the day and not saved DC from absolute collapse or Warner Brothers or whatever. But at the moment, Warner Brothers are very pleased that Superman has been doing extremely well.
Well, let me ask you, 120 million domestic and 200 million worldwide. Like I said, nothing to sneeze at. But
no, obviously,
you can figure about a 3x from there. So let's say 600 million worldwide, when it probably needed to make $1 billion. I'm not convinced that this is the success Warner needed yet.
Again, obviously it's always in a perspective. I think I said the other day I watched the original War of the Worlds from 1959 or whenever it was, and that cost £1 million. But then in today's money, that's actually £120 million. And it's like, oh, right, okay. So actually, nothing sort of changed that much. But the way that things go these days, like I say, the money that they do have to turn over. And again, it was kind of different for people like Cannon, because Cannon would just do, or Roger Corman would do things on as much of a budget as they possibly could. So when they had a hit, it was fantastic because it was making, way, way much more money than they anticipated. But when you have got budgets of 200, 300 million, and then all of a sudden it's then got to turn over $1 billion, you can see why James Gunn has been pushing that boat.
Well, here's the thing. It's not just making back its money, which is probably considerable. I saw the statue that they put in London between the, these guys, you're right. The hype machine was probably even more so than I've seen, at least in a long time. But okay, so is 600 million going to make back their marketing and their budget? I believe it was a $200 million movie. So and it's not just the movie, but now it's supposed to kickstart the DCU or James Gunn's universe, Gunniverse. And I don't know.
No, sorry. Did James Gunn make this film? Did he? Sorry, I completely missed that. Sorry.
That's what I've heard. I didn't know if you were aware of that.
No. Of course, I'll have to look that up and double check the details.
Yeah, well, do your goddamn research before you get on here, will you please? So I'm looking at it going, it's got good audience reaction, it seems, so far. But like the people I went and saw it with, they were like, it was all right. But then the people in the theater, like I was, there was a ton of younger people in the theater, and it started out, they all started clapping and cheering. And then it just kind of got quiet the rest of the thing. And I get the feeling they weren't booing or anything, but I didn't hear any more cheers. I don't know what that means. I'm just saying there was a lot of hype, and then they got done, and they kind of went out, shuffled out quietly, like, okay. There was that look on their face, like, okay, yeah.
I've seen this film now. I mean, the last time I had that kind of experience that you said with the actual hype was Endgame. I was lucky enough to be in London, and I saw it at the Leicester Square Odeon, which is where they hold all the premieres and stuff. I was lucky there. And the cinema was packed. I can't remember what time of day it was, but it was chock-a-block. I had a guy next to me who travelled up from Cornwall, I think, around the corner from me, and it was great. But again, when it came up with because we have the certification comes up at first, everybody was going nuts, and then it died down. And then the two bits I do remember was Captain America, spoilers, Captain America catching Thor's hammer. The audience went bananas. I mean, they just, it was a proper, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it now. And then when the film ends, you've got the closing credits with everybody's signatures and stuff. The audience I was with clapped throughout the whole
clapped.
thing.
Yeah. They were, you're all in. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we had just seen something that was damn special. But like you say, I've seen other films where, even F1 the other day, I was the only one to stay in the cinema until right after the end credits because I thought there was a spoiler. But no, I liked sitting there and just sort of soaking up the end. But everybody else was just sort of kind of, oh yeah, that was good, and kind of just carried up and walked out. And that was the end of that,
Well, yeah, that's true. But F1, I wouldn't say is a get up and cheer movie. No, it's doing well. And last I checked, it was doing pretty well, and I certainly think it's. I liked it. I would say I liked F1 probably a little more than Superman. But that's apples to oranges comparison.
Yeah, it's two different things.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I just, getting back to the hype, getting back to the money that's put into it. I just wonder if this, when all the dust settles and everything, everybody's gonna look at it going, bit of a disappointment in the money, and really it'll come down to what will next weekend's drop off be. If it's under 65%, if it's under 65% drop off, then it's doing well. If it's 65 or more, there's going to be alarm bells.
Going back to the Phantom Menace, I mean, I saw the Phantom Menace 9 times at the cinema.
9 times.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm doing the Ferris Bueller 9 times. There must be some mistake.
Don't be doing impressions of Jeffrey Jones. But with it again, the hype was still there. And I think with the several viewings that we went, it was chock-a-block. But like you say, after a period of time, I now look back and go, really, £9? God, dear, what were you thinking? Because I mean, it was just, I defended it. I had a couple of friends who were saying, no, it's not very good because of this, isn't it? No, it is the greatest film ever because of so, and obviously there's going to be people, funny enough, I think somebody said that at the moment, the James Gunn's fans are getting just like Schneider fans, they're kind of, oh, it's James Gunn, he's brilliant, the guy can't do any wrong, and like you say, now that the word is out and that people have actually seen it, the actual drop-off to it is kind of, are people going to be going, do you know what, no, I'll just wait till streaming, I might buy it on Blu-ray, I'll wait till I can get it on video.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like, I gotta go rewatch this. I actually rewatched Top Gun in the theater, the Maverick. That was the last one I've seen twice in the theater, and so it was that. I never remember that.
Fun. Cool. I can't remember the last film I did that in. Goodness, Mad Max Fury Road, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I can't. Yeah, before that, I had no idea. But it's interesting you bring that up. I like to just kind of touch on what you were saying. You were defending the Phantom Menace. That's from 16 years of the original Holy Trilogy, so to speak. At least at that time, it was untouchable. It was a very special thing. And so I think there was a little bit, and I had a little bit of it too, where it was tough to accept that a new Star Wars movie from James Lucas sucked. And, that you almost went through the 5 stages with that one, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
Depression, denial.
We certainly started out with denial. And I think the James Gunn guys and the Snyder, Snyder. I think there's a little bit of that going on as well.
Yeah.
So I think there was a little bit of that with The Hobbit. After The Lord of the Rings was so good, and The Hobbit came out. Now I love The Lord of the Rings, but I immediately watched The Hobbit and went, this sucks. So I don't recall.
I don't think it sucked. It was just not as good. But then I've never read the books.
It was just taking a book. It was taking a pamphlet, making it a novel. It was ridiculous. You didn't need to. It didn't need 2 movies. It didn't need 3 movies. It didn't need 2 movies. So, but my point is that it's interesting. Yeah, I think there is I'm intrigued by what you said. Like the James Gunn guys are.
Weirdly, you've got kind of several camps to this now, and it's something else we'll touch on as well. But you've got several camps because you've got like the James Gunn lovers, but then you've got the James Gunn haters, and you've got the sort of Marvel fans who are going, "Oh, he shouldn't have gone to DC. He's better off in the MCU and all this kind of stuff." And so that brings me on to sort of like another point with this hype as well. Then you've got the shills and stuff. And I like the fact that on one of the articles, Stark mentioned the Rotten Scores Tomato. And again, it's kind of like, sorry, why is anybody interested in the Rotten Tomato score of anything? We know that they all get their stuff paid for. We know that it's completely shill. We know that they delete negative stuff because it's bombing. And it's like, why is anybody sort of going, well, Rotten Tomatoes gave it 100%. And that's why my mum gave it 100%.
Well, I actually find it interesting, depending on the movie, as inverse. It's kind of like the inverse Kramer, whatever Kramer says to sell, you buy. It's the same thing. Yeah. If Rotten Tomatoes loves it, and we know it's a politically charged film, we know it's going to suck. And if they hate it, it might not be woke, or they thought it was going to be woke. So that's what it's become. And to add to your point with all the camps,
looking at something else. There's me at the cinema. He's going to see it 7 times. That was my mate. Oh. Sorry, that was my mate Paul, and that's me. Sorry. I was just looking for a photo of Rotten Tomatoes. How the critics gave that series. I think it was on Netflix or something called Cuties, which was basically
that disgusting piece of shit.
Critics gave it like 87, 88% or something or other, and you're thinking, these are the people you trust. Is it these people? Okay, so that's fine. No, you carry on. Sorry, carry on your point. I apologize.
Well, you were talking about, there's the shows, there's the James Gunn people, there's Zack Snyder people. It's gotten worse than that because now, is it woke or is it not woke? And so then you get some of the, because Superman is supposed to say true justice the American way.
Yeah.
And somebody said he changed it to the human way. He actually didn't say any of it. He never said the phrase in any way, shape, or form. And it's not a political movie in any way other than, two countries are going to war, but I mean they're made up countries, and it's more about people killing each other and Lex Luthor.
You can't help have some politics in kind of any cultural film.
Yeah,
not even if it is Superman, there is obviously some cultural significance to it.
It's too juvenile or immature to really see that in it. To be honest with you, it's too cartoony, in my opinion.
Some people will read anything into anything. The relationship between Harry Lloyd and Harry Dunn and Lloyd Christmas in Dumb and Dumber was actually reflective of the society, how they're rich and poor, and it's like, really? My favorite example of that, I'm just going to say is, I forget the director's name, I'm just going to look it up, but the movie If, from 19, oh goodness me, I can't find it now, but the director said that there was a whole section, it's got Malcolm McDowell in there, and it was quite an art house film, but there's a whole section in the middle which was in black and white. And you had, for years, these critics going, well, the black and white really symbolizes how the poor people were struggling against the sun, and they would come up with all these things and everything else. And years later, the director was interviewed and said, why was that whole section in black and white? And she said, we couldn't afford color. All these people are kind of like, no, I understand what the director was exactly trying to do. And all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, they were saving money.
Well, sometimes, what do they say? Art through adversity. I mean, sometimes you create art because of that maybe it wasn't intended, but it ends up being a happy accident. I think there's some merit in that. But I get what you're saying.
People read into this thing of kind of, oh no, I know exactly what they were trying to say, and it's kind of like, no, you missed the point completely. And like, people are going to go in and watch. We had a comment, it was years ago on the last movie Outpost, and somebody said that he hated the 1984 version of June because it was very homophobic. And I just remember thinking, what? Hang on. And I was thinking, there's nothing like that in there at all. And I actually thought in some places that the whole bit where the Baron pulls out that plug of that young lad and stuff, it was actually quite sort of erotic in some respects. But I thought that person went to see that movie, and no matter what the movie was, I was very anti-homophobic. What, Bros? Yeah, it's very anti-homophobic. Did you just go and see it just so that you could just have a go at it? No.
I saw Sting in that tiny little metal shorts thing. I think that was homoerotic. Pretty sure.
Again, it's like I say, some people will just go in with that, oh, this is going to be woke. Oh, yeah, I noticed several woke things and stuff. Actually, do you know what? There's a couple of readers on the last movie Outpost who I can say that about, but I'm not going to bring up their names.
Well, that's annoying. It is annoying. It is annoying because, well, Hollywood did this to us, It's impossible now to not have your woke radar up. Even in a movie that doesn't intend it, unfortunately, because you and I probably know too much about the internet.
What we're talking in this film, it's woke.
Well, even if you're not walking into it, because you know how Hollywood execs think, how Disney think, all this stuff, and when you see some of the things, the casting and everything, it really you can't help but notice it. It's not you want to notice it; you didn't notice it before, right? But like you talk about Ballerina and you talk about what was the other one that came out that was reasonably good? No. It was like a girl.
The one with Charlize Theron. Was it or
might have been? I don't know. Oh yeah, the Mad Max, the Fury Road, Furiosa.
No. I'm not thinking of that. I'm thinking of the other one she did with the director of.
I know which one you're talking about, but I'm saying that the last year we had Furiosa and then we had Ballerina, and both of those have strong female protagonists. You could kind of say, well, maybe they were a little too strong or something, but it didn't come across as woke. But unfortunately, because they put out all this woke shit, people are not buying anymore. They're saying, I'm not going to go see another Girl Boss movie, even if it turns out it's just more of a throwback to an old 80s or 90s style action movie.
I'm going to try and find, because I watched something recently, and it was like not an old film, but it was kind of 70s, maybe 80s. I'm just trying to remember which one it was. I have to keep record now because I keep forgetting things because I'm so unbelievably useless. But I can't think what it was now. But it was like I say, it was an older movie, and I thought, oh, this is a bit woke. And I'm thinking, what the hell are you thinking? This wasn't woke. This was made, 40 odd years ago. It's got nothing to do with it. But like you say, your brain has now been programmed to see the woke when it comes up, and that is really frustrating.
Well, it irritates me because I'm retroactively seeing woke in certain stuff. So I'm like that's what's ruined it all for me. It's like you guys, and you can't unfuck this. You
can't get your head out of it now.
Yeah, it's like getting pee out of a swimming pool. It's not going to happen. So I don't know how to get this out of my head, or until they start making, decent movies that aren't full of the message and all that. And I think there is some of that coming out, but you feel like a damaged housewife or something.
Let's move on then, because we've got a little time left. We're trying to keep the live stream nice and gentle and not too long this time.
Yeah, I'll run through it.
It's hard work with Waffler there, but so let's talk about your review. We'll keep on the same page because it was the same thing.
I'm so lonely, Phil. You're the only guy that gets stuck.
Talk to anyone. It's lovely. Yeah, you called it a super mess. The Critical Drinker, his review of it again was quite good, and described pretty much the same thing, that they were trying to do too much in one go. I mean, what was your overall take of Superman? It's because it's just called Superman, isn't it? They haven't called it anything else.
No, yeah, I called it an earnest mess, or a sincere mess.
Yeah.
But let's take the plot. You got it starts in the middle. Superman just stopped this war, and it's just text on a screen. They're just telling you what's happened so far, and then the first scene in the movie is the scene from the trailer where he crashes into the Arctic and whistles for Crypto. That's the very first scene in the movie, and he's all messed up.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting choice. And then, as far as what the plot is, it's like, okay, Superman's trying to stop this war between these two countries. Lex is setting it up to either take over one of the countries or to use it to ruin Superman's reputation.
Right.
And then second, he goes, he uses the kaiju and Ultraman to distract him while he goes up to the Fortress of Solitude. Big monster. I don't know what it is. Just big.
Okay.
It looked like Stitch.
Never read the comic. I've never read the comic.
Well, Japanese monster, right? Kaiju.
Okay.
Yeah. But so while he's fighting that, Lex goes up to the Fortress of Solitude and he finds the message that Superman had from his parents. But half of the message he only knows, and it was corrupted. And when his henchmen take it, they're able to reconstruct the message and finally hear the other half of the message, which is basically go take over the world, have a harem, spread your seed, that sort of thing, which he never knew about. He thought it was just, be good, be truthful, serve,
Man, I should have studied that harder.
Well, it was damaged, so he couldn't. No. So he didn't know. So he was always, and then.
This is why it's always important to read and understand all messages, kids.
Yeah. And then there was a dimensional rift that got out of control, and it was threatening to swallow up the entire world. And I'm going, okay, that's three major plot points there. Plus, his how is he working with, the rest of society? How are they seeing him? What's his public image? And all of this is thrown in there, and you didn't have any good setup for it all. And I'm like, the one thing that works is, okay, he finds out his parents are shit, and He wasn't raised that way.
Yeah.
So he would go into the fortress and they would put on the message from his parents to, because it brought him comfort. At the end, when he comes in and they want to bring him comfort to show the message from his parents, they show him home videos of his parents in Smallville.
Right.
So, perfect. That's the Luke Skywalker, right? Your parents turned out to be shit. You thought they were amazing, and you choose a different path. That's great. That's what it should have centered around. And instead, he threw in so much other stuff, and then you throw in the Justice Gang, and then you throw in Crypto, and then
some really called the Justice Gang.
Yes. It's a guy. Okay. It's supposed to be a joke, I guess, but Guy Gardner. And again, the Justice Gang is like, okay, that's where Gunn is retreating into more Suicide Squad, Guardians of the Galaxy, Misfit type stuff.
Weirdly, just to mention that, I mean, with it, he does that ensemble quite well. Guardians of the Galaxy were a great series of films, and so I mean, Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad he did was, and like you say, it's an ensemble. And I thought to myself, watching the trailer that they and all the other 500 billion trailers that we shown online, that there were too many characters that were going on. Obviously, the original Superman is just Superman against Lex, and that's kind of it. Whereas, obviously, there's the Justice League has already been set up and all this kind of stuff. And I thought to myself, there just seems to be too much going on. But what you're saying is yes, there was too much going on.
Well, there were too much plot. It manages to hold together by the tips of its fingernails. It doesn't quite spin out of control.
Yeah,
but it comes close. That's the problem. And it's like, well, you can't latch on to anything for a real emotional through line and core because it's just, and then some of it's just silly. Some of it's just too silly, or the jokes. You remember in the original Guardians where you had them fighting that big tentacle monster, right? And instead of focusing on the fight, they focus on Groot dancing. And it's all it's mayhem happening in the background. Okay. So they have a moment where Superman and Lois are having a heartfelt talk, and it's a good talk, and it's more dramatic and serious than what they did in that movie. But he has the same thing. Now it's much further away, it's out the window, but they have the Justice Gang fighting some giant tentacle monster. And he's like, yeah, they got it handled, it's a minor thing, and it's supposed to be, this funny thing happening in the background while they're having this serious talk. I like funny joke in Guardians, not appropriate here. Either one, Superman and Lois need to have this dramatic talk and let them have it and don't have some funny bullshit going on in the background. Or two, he looks out the window and says, oh, I need to help him. Because that's what Superman would do, right? So it's that kind of...
Maybe Superman thought he was going to get his leg over and that's more important.
Well, that's... Again...
Are you still wearing your shirt? I'm going to go and help them then.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, it's like, which way are you going here? And James Gunn tends to retreat into these things that make him, that he's comfortable with, that worked for him in the past. And then the jokes are rehashed, or you've seen them before, they're not as funny. You got, I mean, just all of it, just, he needs to actually say it. If he's going to be sincere, be sincere. Don't undercut it with a joke. Don't undercut it with bullshit. And then they really irritate me with Supergirl. She comes back from a planet. She likes to go to planets with red suns so she can get drunk and party. And she comes back after just being a complete party girl. It turns out Crypto is her dog, so they're romping and, kind of super romping. Or
have I got my knickers on the outside again? No, Supergirl, you haven't got them at all.
And I'm like going, oh, that's dignified. So, it's like, again, I think Gunn's heart is in the right place. That's the problem. I don't feel like he's trying to make this woke. He's trying to tell his story, and he did it the way he wanted to, and I kind of respect that. I think he made some bad choices here and there.
Funny enough, I think it was the drinker who said that because this was kind of his first DC movie after taking over the whole DC universe and everything else, he couldn't entrust it to anyone else. Whereas maybe if they had a different director, the one that always springs to mind for me is Kenneth Kenneth Branagh, who did Thor. But they brought in a director like Kenneth Branagh, and he put that little gentle humor in there and everything else, but it also worked as a great dramatic film, and it really took on. And so if James Gunn had got somebody else to direct this and just produced it and focused more on the writing, it might have helped, but there's too much pressure on him to get it absolutely bang on first time round. Because like I say, if this movie did fail, it would be not the end of him, but it would certainly, be a right kick in the pants.
It would. I am curious how much studio involvement, because I don't feel like there's anything that isn't something that I feel like Gunn had the full control. Yeah, right. I don't feel like this movie had a lot of studios saying do this or do that. I didn't get that. I just think I don't know. What's maddening about it is that he wrote the character of Superman is written well. He's just a good guy who's trying to save lives. I've been
hearing David
Corn Sweat. Yeah. There was a few scenes out of context I didn't like when I saw him online, but in the movie he was fine. Lois is fine. She was good. Not a girl boss, but exactly what you would think Lois Lane is, making good decisions, helping out, good reporter, all that kind of stuff. The Daily Planet just felt a little it didn't feel like a serious newspaper. It felt a little silly the way they were all acting. The side characters were too silly, and then Mom and Pa Kent really, like, they're fundamentally good people, yes, and they're not stupid, really, but their folksy attitude and their accents and everything.
They weren't cages from The Simpsons.
They were close. That was the problem. Just as they came across, and it was way like, first of all, I live in Kansas, guys. We don't speak like that. Nobody speaks. You got to go down south for that. That's not how even the people on the farms.
Banjo?
Yeah, that's Georgia. So Alabama, you got to get down there.
It's all big one place, It's British people and all that bad teeth and stuff,
Exactly. So, but they just came like Mom and Pa Kent were people with simple values, but they were not simple people. Yeah. They had a dignity about them, and you could understand how Superman would come from those people. When you make them just one level shy of Cletus's, you're like, how did Superman get raised by these people? Now, yes, they said the lines that they were supposed to say that would make you believe that, but out of those podunk accents and the way they acted everywhere else in the movie, like, this, it doesn't make sense. I found it insulting.
Were they stupid as, say, somebody in the middle of a hurricane just saying, no, don't worry, it'll be fine, as opposed to
no? I gotta give you that one. They weren't that stupid. But Diane Lane and Kevin Costner, you felt like there was a strength to them. There was they
absolutely, stuff.
The same with Glenn Ford way back in the day. I loved Kay Callan and Eddie Jones in the Lois and Clark, the one with Dean Cain. They were fantastic.
I don't remember that.
They were really good.
Okay.
So I mean, there's kind of this. They're different takes, but there's kind of this level that you don't go below, and then he went way below it. I'm like, oh, that was a mistake. That was a bad mistake.
Fair enough. Well, like I say, I'm going to wait till it's on streaming, which weirdly it's kind of now one of those things that if it takes a nosedive in the second week, they may bring the streaming forward with it. But I'm kind of quite happy to wait till streaming. But so far, the reviews I think have been between sort of amazing and awful. But most people are going kind of just mid with it. They're like yourself. You gave it 2.5 stars, and that seems to be the way that it's going.
Yeah, I will be interested to see if he can rein in and kind of learn from this, what he could do with this character, with the actors that he's put together. I think there's something there. It just it needs to
becoming
improve.
A little bit like Tiki Wakati, whatever he's called. You know what I mean? But I mean, again, he had Thor, the third one, and Ragnarok was fantastic. Again, there was humor in there, but it was great. And then that Love and Thunder was just awful. And again, he kind of, he believes his own hype, and I think James Gunn is the same. And again, it's kind of coming back to the Phantom Menace. If you had, who was the producer, Rick McCallum? If Rick McCallum wasn't such a
pussy,
yes, of just sort of saying, George, that first draft, not great. We need some new writers in and everything else. But obviously he read it and said, yeah, this is great. We'll go with this. And every interview I've seen with Rick McCallum just says, yes, it's the greatest film we've ever made. And all this and it's like, it's really not. You should have stood up to George. I know he's George Lucas. I know he invented Star Wars. I know it's all him. But you should have just sort of said, George, by the way, mate, and that's what people need to do with James Gunn.
I love when you bring up Rick McCallum, I love the documentary that they have about the making the Phantom Menace, and when they do the first screening, and you look at Rick McCallum, he's just back there in shock, just like, what if I hitched my wagon to here?
Yeah. And again, if he just stood up and just sort of said, George Lucas is only a man, and I get, the creative genius he was, but if he just stood up to him and just said, look, George, we need an extra couple of writers, and I think it was the second one. They said the script was always kind of in flux. And it's like, yeah, it really shows it was awful.
Yeah, it was bad.
So, anyway, that's enough from us today.
Yeah.
Thank you for our viewers.
Our viewer.
But thank you for joining us. You can find all of your movie news, reviews, and everything cool at the Last Movie Outpost. We have articles going out every single day of the week. You can join in the discussion.
I'll be right back.
No worries. And we always enjoy listening to you. So thank you for joining us. We will be back here again next week, talking probably more about Superman. Oh, we have got a comment. Who's that? Thank you. Thank you, Rodney, for joining us to the last second. We will be cutting, Yoda will be cutting this back up and getting on there. But apart from that, like I say, thank you for everybody. Make sure you check out the Last Movie Outpost. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. Please like and subscribe. But thank you very much, and we will see you all soon.